Welcome. On DAX Made Easy, this series, today we're diving into MINX and MIN. There are variances and differences between these functions, and I'm going to fully equip you with how to use them and what they mean. We're going to do that using actual data and examples. So let's dive into Power BI. All right, so here we are. What this data set is a set of sales. So I'm going to first talk you through what these calculations are, then we'll look at the data, then we're going to go through the process of building them. And we're going to do MINX and MIN so you will understand them. Also, this file is going to be available in GitHub so you can open it up and follow along. Let's look at the top here. I'm going to turn this cursor highlighter on so you can follow along even easier too. So MIN, it's going to return the smallest value in a column, which is this first one, or what makes it unique, and some people don't use this feature of it, is it or will return the minimum value between two expressions. And I'll show you that too, by default. What else is cool then is we're gonna dive into, and it includes minimum, it includes text, numbers, and dates. So you can get the minimum date, the minimum alphabetical text, the minimum value. With our examples today, we're looking at values, but no, this applies for names or dates or anything else, just the same. Same with MINX. But the difference is that MINX iterates over every row of a table, and MIN aggregates things up without a row filter context. I'm going to give an example of what that means by showing you intentionally something that doesn't work when using MIN at an aggregate level, and then using MINX to do it correctly. And that's going to be around the total sale. So let's look at the data. When we look at what we're dealing with here, there's a sales data set that has a bunch of orders, and every order has a line. Every order has a price and a quantity. So if this order has a price of $7 and a quantity of 3, then that order is $21, the total sale. There's another video under the SUMX functions that talk about how to create the correct aggregate total sale. So that's the SUMX total sale. I've added that. Check that video out if you're interested. But what we're going to do now is use the MIN values to first show how they function similarly, but then also show how they're different. And we'll do that by doing the total sale minimum calculation. You'll see what I mean as we dive into it. So let's start by creating a calculation that's very basic. The first one that's easy. We're going to say take the minimum price. We're going to say this equals MIN. Just feed it the column. I'm going to say sales price. So as I do that, it's going to return a value. And just like we expected, it's showing it. I'm going to put this to just 2 decimals. So let's stick with the bookcases. So what this is saying, we'll keep it like this, is of all the orders under bookcases, this order, the minimum value of minimum price of that order is $261.96. That's correct. These ones are just rounded up to 0. And then what it's doing is as you group it together, it's running that same calculation. It's saying, okay, for the category of bookcases, what's the minimum price under everything there? So in this case, now it's taking the minimum of all of these under bookcases. And then for the total group, 189, it's saying, all right, what's the minimum of this entire group, which happens to be an order within this? And then the total, 44 cents. So it's working. It's accurately showing you at the aggregate level what's the minimum total value for any category. It's working. That's a great reason to use it. Now the goal of this next part is I'm just going to do the same calculation using MINX. You don't need to use it, but the goal is just to inform. MINX will be needed for the second part of this, but MINX price equals, the way that this works, again, what we like to do is intentionally show things so we can learn. You just pick the table and then the expression or the column. So in this case, I'm saying MIN sales price. I'm going to add it. And look, the values are exactly the same. After you create it, come up here, hit 2 for the decimals. It's doing the exact same thing, which is perfect, which is expected. But now let's look into when MINX is needed. And this example is going to educate you on when to use MINX and why. So we're going to do the calculation of total sale, and we're going to want to know what is the minimum total sale for every record, every row, as well as what's the minimum total sale then within any group, the same way that we did with MIN. You have to use MINX to do this. I'll show you why min standard won't work, and then we'll solve it with MINX. So what I like to do as well, anytime I create calculations, go into the modeling section, click them, put them in a folder together, which is in this case, we'll call it MIN and MINX. Cool. So coming back to here, let's do an incorrect calculation, but it will work at the row level. So what I'm saying for this is a new measure, and we'll call this the minimum total sale. And this is going to equal, if I just look at the columns down here, I'm going to say I want the minimum price times the sum of the quantity. And this is intended to be educational. This will show you how this calculation works at the row level, but it doesn't aggregate correctly. So now let's look at this. What's happening? Well, the minimum total sale for this row, let's set this to looks so minimum validates. We'll do currency, set this to, we'll go 0. It's the total sale of this row is 524, and that's the minimum sale for this row. That's correct. So it works at this level here for the total sale, but now when it's aggregating up, it's just not working, because what it's doing, it's incorrectly making that calculation happen not at every row and evaluating it, but it's evaluating it at the overall aggregate. So what that means is this is literally taking the minimum price, 359, by the sales quantity, 868, to get this large number, which is just wrong. But the goal is to show you how it can work right at a low level and why we need MINX. And this is where this comes into play. So how do we get this correct? New measure. We'll call this MINX total sale. For this, we're going to say, now this is where the expressions are really helpful. MINX for sales. What I want to do is for every single row, I want to take the sale price and I want to multiply it by the quantity. And then I want to get the minimum value for what that is for every group, for everything. So when we do this, now this is going to work, and I'll add it. So what's happening here is it's doing the same calculation at the row level. We'll add this to be 0 as well. So what that looks like, we'll zoom out just a little bit, is it's 524, 21, 584, so that matches. But now the difference is that it's correctly iterating over every single row to do this calculation and then get the minimum out of everything within that grouping. It's not performing it at the aggregate level. So when you're doing something at a row level that needs to roll up correctly, use that X function. That's the way to put it in your brain to remember it. And there you go. Okay, what we're also going to look into is how the minimum function can actually return the value that's less when comparing two values. This is the second part of this, the minimum of expression 1 or expression 2. But note, this is between two scalar value expressions, which means it's a single number. So this isn't a row, but this is going to be an aggregate calculation. Here's what that looks like. So let's make a new measure. And it's always easier to see something in action. I'll call this the minimum between two scalar values. I'm going to call this then min. And in our table, you can see that there's a, well, let me click off this. There's a price and a discount. So I'm just going to, as an example, return what's the smaller value between these two. It's always going to be the discount, but you could use it for things that aren't if you're ever needing to do some kind of calculation like that. So I'm going to say between the sum or price, and these are calculations that are in the model. So you want to add expressions or calculations to this. It's going to say between what's in here already for the sum price or the sum discount, which is smaller. Hit enter and return it. Just like that. So as expected, it's returning the discount because it's smaller, but what it's saying is it's going and saying, okay, for all the values, what's smaller, this one or this one? 50 cents, great. And it's doing that same process across everything. And that's the suite of the min functions. Again, these are all applicable to dates and text as well. So if you want to say what's the minimum date, do the same sort of deal. Same with wording, any kind of text. But there you go. Take a minute, hit subscribe. There'll be much more content coming. Lots of videos on Power BI as well as DAX. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Bye.